This is Vendetta, Overwatch's 45th hero, and the very first melee-only DPS hero. That is if we ignore Hammer Torb. And I have 50 interesting, silly, and borderline useless facts and details that you may or may not know about Vendetta. Vendetta has 3 different names, 2 of which are aliases. Her real name is Marcia Battalotti. The name Marcia is derived from Mars, the Roman god of war. Quite a fitting name for the character, I guess. One of her aliases is La Lupa, which means the wolf, which was chosen by the people of the Colosseo. And Vendetta, her current alias, is a nickname for her seeking revenge for the people who have murdered her family member. In this case, it's her dad. There is also a nickname that is used on Colosseo, which is a Roman number for 45, but that might be just a hint towards her being the 45th hero in Overwatch. And if you don't feel like saying any of her names during the match, there are a few short names variants that you can use, such as V, just like V from Cyberpunk, or V for Vendetta if you're an old gamer, I guess. Or you can just call her Lupa. The name of her sword is Palatine Fang. The word Palatine typically refers to a high-ranking noble or official, while a fang in this context will mean a wolf tooth. So together, this probably can be translated to the noble wolf's tooth. Or it's probably just a reference to the Roman mythology of Romulus and Remus, who were saved by the she-wolf near the Palatine Hill and the events of how the Rome was founded. And this is the actual base of the sword. The rest of what you see is hard light. And speaking of her sword, you might be looking at Vendetta's sword and asking yourself how big it actually is. Here are some of the biggest weapons Overwatch has to offer, like Mauga's guns, Zarya's weapon, and Reinhardt's hammer. And as we can see, Vendetta's sword is tied with Winston's Tesla cannon after Rein's hammer. Oh, and this is Reinhardt, the tallest hero in the game. And no, we do not count Sigma, because he's floating. If we were to place Vendetta's sword next to Reinhardt, we can see that they're about the same height. And just for the fun of it, in case some of you ask, this is Torbjorn next to the sword. Vendetta performs 3 different attack animations with her sword. A left slash, a right slash, and an overhead slash that deals critical damage. If you were to jump during the overhead slash, you do an additional jump and leap forward. This allows you to hop over small gaps and even take shortcuts that would normally be impossible with regular jumps. It's also quite useful when it comes to rollouts. When you are leaving spawn, you can hold primary fire and jump during every overhead slash for some extra distance. In case you want to be sneaky and pretend you're a DPS doofus like it's Overwatch 1 all over again, it's possible to suspend yourself on the roof with the overhead slash and other abilities. Also, be careful when you're hiding in a corner, because your sword might stick out of the wall. Or be visible around the corner, depending on where you're looking at. Just keep that in mind. Also, in case you don't fully know how melee animation works in Overwatch, then you should know that you can hit multiple enemies if you quickly flick your camera. Vendetta's ultimate has a few cool effects that you might find interesting. First, the most obvious one are the indicators for whenever her ultimate charges up. There are 4 indicators for that. This UI element that shows you the current power level, the audio indicator that you can hear with each level up, which can also be heard by the enemy team, the visual impact on the ground that grows bigger, and lastly, her sword visually becomes more covered in flames with each charge level. When the ultimate timer is close to running out, meaning it's about to auto-fire, she arches her back right before the attack triggers. And when the strike finally happens, enemies briefly can see the impact zone of the attack. Yeah, you don't actually get that much time to react to it, sadly. The ultimate itself is actually a visual effect of a huge sword. If you look at it from a distance, you'll be able to notice that it scales from being just a small sword with 1 charge, medium with 2 charges, and a giant one with max charges. After throwing your sword, you can also hold your jump to gain extra distance, also known as bunny hop. The overhead slash also sends any jumping or flying heroes to the ground. A really neat detail that you cannot see on Vendetta's sword happens during her block animation in 3rd person. When you are not blocking, the sword's surface pattern is a bit more obscure and harder to see. But the moment you put it in a block position, the sword becomes more lively, with these little patterns moving all over the sword's surface. During this stance, enemies also see a faint glow around your character model. This is similar to heroes like Ramatra or Freya. That glow is a way of telling players that a hero has shifted out of their default stance into a more aggressive or defensive mode. While holding your block, in the first-person mode you might think that you can still take headshot damage from the enemies. And you'll be correct! You can still receive headshots, though it does look that it requires you to hit a specific spot on her sword to be able to deal critical damage, which can be a bug. It also seems that during this stance, Vendetta's sword becomes part of her hitbox. If you shoot Vendetta's sword in her default stance, you don't do any damage. But during the block, even shooting the bottom edge of a sword causes her to take damage. Her block can absorb up to 250 damage before the energy resource depletes. And any melee attacks are fully blocked without taking any damage. Although it does not block any extended melee attacks such as these ones. But Vendetta's block can actually withstand far greater damage if the damage comes in a single burst. For example, you can survive D.Va's self-destruct even at extremely close range, as long as you're at full HP. And any projectiles that stick on your hero model and deal delayed damage, such as Tracer's Pulse Bomb, Freya's Bolt, and Echo Stickies, can all be damage mitigated even after they are attached to you. Vendetta's passive, Onslaught, gives her bonus attack and movement speed for every hit you make for up to 5 stacks. This includes her normal quick melee attacks, and even the environmental kill eliminations count towards the stacks. Here's the speed comparison between 0 to 5 stacks. When the minimum requirement of 5 stacks has been reached, you will be able to see it with this UI element on your screen. The eyes on her sword will start glowing, and you also get speedline effects around the edges of your screen. This indicates that you are moving faster. And from the enemy's perspective, they also get a visual warning. The sword becomes much brighter and more pronounced, showing that Vendetta is now in her empowered state. Here's a little weird fact about Vendetta's passive. When you die, you don't lose any of your stacks. This means if you were to be resurrected by Mercy the same moment as you die, you can come back with your passive still active. When you're locked in overhead slash animation, Vendetta can still perform her usual hello animation while flying downwards. You know, just in case you want to say hi to your enemies before they die. Most heroes in Overwatch have an idle animation in both first and third person. But surprisingly, Vendetta does not have a third person idle animation at all, making her the 8th hero without one. She does have a very subtle first person idle animation though, the slight finger movements. Wow. And occasionally after finishing a slashing animation, she'll spin her sword. This is Vendetta's default stance, with her sword facing and laying on the ground. But funnily enough, it is sorta possible to have the sword glitch on certain surfaces, making her animation change to her having it raised instead. This also makes her slash animation look funky. She's also the first hero to have 2 separate audio cues that reveal her location. Her normal footstep sounds, and a distinct sword dragging sound, which makes her much easier to identify as she moves, whenever you cannot see her. And what I found interesting about her footstep sound is that it is very similar to Tracer footsteps. When it comes to Vendetta's ultimate, if you're using it in the air, you don't actually have to land all the way down in order to hit some of your targets. The ultimate's damage zone actually travels with you as you descend. Here's a fun little tip. You can do something similar to Orisa's ultimate in combination with Symmetra's teleporter. Those who know what I'm talking about probably know what's going to happen next. If the enemy team hears you use your ultimate and hides around the corner where they think they are safe from getting one shot, they might take in well-placed Symmetra's teleporter and charging your ultimate all the way to level 3. You can surprise the enemy team in a very funny way. While using Vendetta's spin ability, you can use it to interrupt some of the abilities of other heroes with similar abilities, such as Doomfist's Punch, Baguette's Bash, or Reinhardt's Charge. If a hero has a collide tag in their ability description, then Vendetta can interrupt their ability. However, it will not stop them if a hero's ability also has an unstoppable tag or evasive tag. In case you were wondering, Soaring Slice ability cannot be eaten by D.Va or deflected by Genji. You can also do double overhead slash, by finishing the combo and then immediately throwing your ability to the ground. Also, if you get hacked by Sombra while throwing your sword, it doesn't actually cancel out the overhead slash, meaning that there might be some situations where this can be beneficial to you. With the release of Vendetta, a new damage type was introduced to Overwatch, Sunder. This damage type removes any overhealth, ignores damage reduction, and hits through the bubble targets. This means that you can use Vendetta's ultimate in many ways. You can go for maximum amount of damage, potentially killing an enemy team. Or you can simply remove any gained overhealth from heroes like Wrecking Ball or Lucio's Beat effect. For this, you don't actually have to charge your ultimate. You can also use this ultimate if you're tired of seeing Ramacho sitting in a corner with his block up 24/7. Or you can just kill Juno with it. Also, they added pizza weapon charm that doesn't have pineapples on it. Crazy. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something new. Huge thank you to my YouTube members for supporting my channel. And as always, I shall see you all in the next one.